It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. We're a little. Usually we come up at 2 o'clock Pacific time, but we were just slightly indisposed, and so now we're here. We're live. You can watch it on YouTube at Emil Amok One. That's where you find us. You can find us on social media, Facebook, X, wherever you like your live podcast. We just go live, and then you could listen or not. I'm threatening to put some of it up on our regular Emil Muck's Takeout podcast, which you can, wherever you get your podcast, it's available. But it's a lot of work, for one guy, And so, anyway, but today's Monday. It's important. I want to talk about being at the Marsh. Yeah. Yeah, I got to swish it out here. I'm going to be the Marsh tonight, SF Marsh, 1062 Valencia Street. Tonight, the 19th, also June 2nd, shorter version on the 19th tonight. I'm just talking about some aspects of my new show, which working title, Emil Amok 69, Emil Amok, 69. Oh, you're coming clean, Emil. Is that it? Well, you're going to have to see the show. Subtitle, Trumps, Popes, and Ditties. Maybe that's ditties. I may not have time to get into the ditties part, but I'm talking about that tonight. I think I'm especially going to get to why I could have been Pope. I could have been Pope. I mean, my mom believed in me. So we'll talk about that tonight on tonight's show. It's fun. And then also talk about a book that I picked up at the free library. In the neighborhood, people put out free propaganda. And I got this book, Can You Change If You're Gay? Which is like, oh, what is this? So anyway, we'll talk about that. I think people will show up at the Marsh, Monday Night Marsh at 1062 Valencia Street tonight, Monday the 19th. They may be interested in that. Can you change if you're gay? I don't know. I'm just going. It's a short book. It's a short book. But it's propaganda that they throw out here in the valley and hope it grows. It's not. It's not growing. But show up to the Marsh tonight. I get 5-10 minutes, and then I'll do a full show, or a full 20-minute show on June 2nd, and then the show that I will develop into a full 16-minute show, some of which I did at the Fresno Rogue Festival, I'll do somewhere around town. I'm looking at venues now, but I definitely will take it to fringe festivals in North America. I'm going to up in Canada. That's why I'm watching the Stanley Cup. I want to know my hockey guys. I know Edmonton's really good in hockey. Winnipeg, yeah, they're okay. Toronto. See, that they were I love the Toronto Maple. They have a Filipino guy on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they don't hardly play him at all. Nick Robertson. His brother plays for the Dallas Stars. He's been hurt. And so I'm into hockey. So I'm preparing for my my Canadian onslaught. I mean, who knows? I may appeal to them to become the 51st state. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. The Philippines should be the 51st state for Canada. I think. No. All right, some things we're going to talk about today quickly here on show 873. First of all, DEI. I know you think DEI is dead, but over the weekend, I saw the Saturday Night Live 50th season finale. And I saw that show and I said, they couldn't have done that show 50 years ago. They wouldn't have, because it was a different world. And the show they did was a product of what happens when DEI is in your bones, when DEI and the goodness of DEI is in your philosophy. I mean, especially if you're satirists, right? If you're satirist and you're making fun of the world, well, you better make fun of a diverse world, because why just make fun of white people and black people? It's a diverse world. It's holding up a mirror to all of it and making fun of that, including gays, in a fun way. And you can only do it if you have a diverse cast. Because as I've learned, that in journalism, just like in acting, you could put out a diverse product, but you better have a diverse staff and diverse management, and they better believe in mirroring the entire world, covering it, or telling the stories of the entire world, because otherwise you won't have diversity. So I looked at SNL this weekend and I said to myself, that's a show, that's a finale you wouldn't have seen 50 years ago. And it wasn't just Bad Bunny, Mr. Bunny playing an Hispanic guy who dates a Scarlett Johansson, who they get into an argument, and Bunny talks to another Latino, Marcel Hernandez, and they talk in Spanish, but the jokes are subtitled in English, which tell what they're really saying. And it's funny. You couldn't have done that 50 years ago, but now you can. But the thing that got me was when Bowen Yang comes on and talks about, well, once again, Scarlett Johansson, who was the star of the show, comes on and says, I've got this crush on Bowen Yang. And they said, but he's gay. And the cast members, the female cast members say, oh, no, he's not. He's straight. Oh, no, he's gay. No, he's gay for the clout, they say. So that's the premise. And wouldn't you know, it's a very funny sketch. One of the funniest sketches, because it talks about this idea of Bowen Yang, who is queer, saying he's straight, which is funny. And it gives an opportunity for Scarlett Johansson and Bowen Yang to hook up in an empty studio or an empty control room at 30 Rock. It's funny, and that's just the first punchline. So I'm saying to myself, all these years I've written columns about Asian American representation or Asian representation in the media, and I've talked about how skewed it's been, how, Asian Americans never the leading man, Asian Americans never the love interest. But with Bowen Yang can you get the ultimate love interest? Everyone loves him, including Scarlett Johansson, which was a satire, which was a joke, which elevated every Asian American or every Asian out there who feels desexualized or unsexualized or asexualized by the media because of the lack of representation or by the way they're represented. We were very, very sexy on SNL's 50th finale, thanks to the modern satire of the SNL 50 writers. And I'm telling you, that was a show you wouldn't have seen 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. I mean, that just wasn't in the consciousness. One of the writers who I know from 50 years ago was just getting to the idea. He wasn't a writer for SNL at the time, but he was just playing with the idea. What would you call a black and an Asian or Chinese if they got together, Emil? And we were just sort of like over beers or something talking. But I just know that we weren't at that stage 50 years ago. Now, today, you got that sketch of Bowen Yang, queer, playing straight, and doing with Scarlett Johansson, funny. Progress. DEI is alive. That's the point. And you only have that because over the years, over 50 years, DEI is still a thing. Whether it's formalized, whether it's a policy, you have people who believe in diversity, whether they want to call it that or not. They believe in diversity. They believe in DEI. And I have criticized SNL for years, criticized the corporate media. Hooray. Hooray for this is an outcome of decades of this idea that, hey, turn your satirical lens on all of us. Don't just look at black and white, and don't let Kenan Thompson have all the fun, or all the whites have all the fun making fun of blacks, or blacks having all the fun making fun of whites. Hey, this doesn't work unless you have Asian cast members and Latino cast members and Latina cast members. So, hurrah, SNL 50. A show that you couldn't have seen. The finale, they couldn't have had 50 years ago. They couldn't have. They couldn't have. So DEI is still alive. Some things in the news. Joe Biden, I wrote a column in Inquirer.net saying, hey, why put the blame on Joe Biden for, what we have now? It's not Joe Biden's fault. And I'm talking about the book that's critical of Joe Biden for, being guarded by his staff. They're trying to blame someone for why Biden ran and didn't pull out of the race. And then now we got this news that Biden has had an aggressive form of prostate cancer, and he likely had it during the time he was president. And that should have been information that was disclosed to us. I'm not worried about Biden because Biden's out of office. And I'd rather not, as I say in my piece on Inquirer.net, I'd rather not go back and relitigate whether Biden should have run, or, we got Kamala Harris. She could have won, but we Democrats didn't have a primary. Maybe they could have had the best candidate. I would blame the rules and the mechanism that said, it's too late. We can't have a convention. We can't have even a formal who's the best candidate for the Democrats. And so they went forward, and it alienated a lot of people, enough people so that Trump won, not by a landslide, but Trump won by just a small margin, a plurality, but not a majority. And I think instead of kicking on Biden and trying to document, the way the Biden White House was before all that, forget that. Let's look forward. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? Full transparency on presidential health. Do we have that on Donald Trump? I mean, I've been looking at him. Slouchy, posture. I'm worried about his prostate. I'm worried about his colon. I'm worried about his physicality. Oh, he's healthy as a horse. Yeah, sure. I don't think so. And, he's got his doctors just signing off like they're, Trump executive orders, signatures. Hey, look, I'm healthy. No, I don't think he's healthy. So I think that's where people ought to be looking. And then also the party rules, Democrat, Republican, on what prevents a party from going forward and having a mini convention. Nothing except political will, and no one had the political will to do it. So it's an exercise that I find is more self-serving for CNN and Axios, who are the main folks behind this book that's going to be out tomorrow. Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson, they were CNN and Axios. Great journalism, I guess, but a little late because we could have used this information about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. To get it now, I, especially with the news about Biden's health, I'm a little, that's not the way to put our attention and make this right. The way to make it right is to go forward and say, we need to know about the president's health every step of the way. We need to know that presidents are being honest and that the doctors are being honest about the state of a president's health. I mean, at least with Trump, we'll know that he doesn't have mental health issues. All right. I mean psychological issues too, right? I mean, because some of his things, now he Now he says Walmart should eat the tariffs, pretty much admitting that countries don't pay the tariffs, but companies do, and companies pass it on to consumers. So consumers pay the tariffs, it's a tax. But now Trump says, no, Walmart should eat the tariffs. They should eat the tariffs. Let them eat tariffs, right? I mean, so that's kind of crazy. They should look at Donald Trump in terms of, the deportations, going against the Constitution, doing things illegally, unlawfully. Is the guy, I mean, some people call him stupid. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I won't call him outright stupid, but I'll say he's acting stupidly. How about that? Because I didn't want to show any bias. I'm not really anti-Trump because he's my president too. I want him to do right by me. But now he's going crazy about Bruce Springsteen. Springsteen says the truth that what's President Trump doing? But there's Trump on Truth Social saying, "Oh, it's got to be an investigation." Springsteen, Beyonce, all of them. So that's crazy. There also should be something going on about not just the plane and the grifting of the Trumps. If the Trumps get that plane from Qatar, well, is it a bribe? Is it a gift? He shouldn't have it. The Constitution says you're not allowed to have that. But now we have the latest news with CBS, 60 Minutes. The president of CBS has stepped down today suddenly because the corporates, Paramount, they want to merge with somebody, and the merger is being held up because the Trump administration, or Trump himself, I think, is suing $20 billion. He's suing CBS News. And the news folks said, hey, look, that's baloney. We're going to settle, or not settle. We're just going to hold forth because the lawsuit is what do they call it? The lawsuit is without merit. Without merit. Sort of like Pete Hegseth. Yeah, without merit. But no. Now, today, the president of CBS News steps down, which is a reminder that corporate journalism is still corporate journalism. And, the guy who was head of 60 Minutes, he stepped down, the producer. This is really a concern because what Trump is doing is bullying the big institutions. ABC already has given in. The big law firms, most of them have already given in. CBS now looks like they're going to settle. Harvard University, even with their $53 billion endowment, they really can't afford it, but they have to. They're like the last institution. Other institutions have faded and given in. Columbia, other schools. So power to Harvard for hanging in there. But I know it's not easy because some of that money is earmarked and, it's not like they've got $53 billion to play around with. So this is the bullying politics of Donald Trump. And it's a crazy world we live in. Crazy world. Now, Donald Trump, he likes to have lots of options to give you. He's not an a-hole because of that. He's not an a-hole because of this. He's not an a-hole because of that. But look at what he's doing for Vladimir Putin and maybe Zelensky and Ukraine. But, he's so pro Putin. But now these peace talks have started. Putin knows, he gets his last licks in, bombs Ukraine, says, oh, yeah, let's have peace. But I don't trust Putin. But now the Pope Leo XIV, he wants in, and he wants to have talks. And now the Trump wants to use the Pope. And this is a way of Trump using the legitimate means to peace, which I guess is all right if it does lead to a productive peace and not to a peace plan that gets thrown apart. So let's see. And then In the meantime, so that's peace, and there's the Pope. In the meantime, the Supreme Court, which said that Donald Trump was essentially breaking the law, not allowing for due process for immigrants, now the Supreme Court says, oh, but by the way, those Venezuelans who have TPS, temporary protective status, oh, you can deport them, which is crazy when you think Venezuela, the conditions in Venezuela haven't changed for those people. They're still scared, running in exile, and that protected status is now stripped, and Donald Trump can now be mean and deport these people back. And the ironic thing is that a lot of those Venezuelans voted for Donald Trump. So, you gotta know who you're backing. Know who you're backing. Meanwhile, for those of us here who don't fear deportation yet, the House is sort of moving this bill up, the big beautiful bill that Donald Trump talks about, that actually increases the deficit more than decreases. It's supposed to be a deficit reduction bill, but it actually increases the deficit because they got the cuts, but they're giving tax breaks to the rich, so the deficit actually increases. Another sleight of hand by Donald Trump. Don't be fooled by it. Do not be fooled by it. And that's it. I'm just doing shorter shows. I do want to talk about. I saw James. No, not James. I saw Ishmael Reed, and I talked to Ishmael Reed about James and the Pulitzers in his play Life Among the Aryans, now at the Black Repertory Group. Check it out. It's on from now till June 1st. Get your tickets at Eventbrite. I was surprised. I was talking to somebody about Broadway shows, and I thought I knew about Broadway because I've done some off Broadway shows. But, off Broadway, you might pay a top dollar, like $50, $40, maybe $35. But my friend was saying that, he wanted to go see a play, and it cost like almost $1,000 for a single ticket. I said, $1,000. I mean, they're going for star power, they're going for money, and if you're going to see someone live, that's how they're pulling them in on Broadway. And they're making up for lost time because of COVID, of course, but it's getting so that the theater in New York to see anything on Broadway is going to cost you $800 for a single ticket, and that's half price. You can't go to the half price ticket office. You got to go to quarter price ticket office or something, or 3/4 off. How about just free? You got to see the George Clooney Good Night, Edward R. Murrow. They're going to put that on TV. Of course, they put it on TV. It's not like seeing it live. Live theater. Anyway, I talk about Ishmael Reed's Life Among the Aryans because it's one of those things where I probably would rather see it. Would rather read it, read the play. It's kind of an intellectual thing. But when you see it live, it's special. And the performers are deserving of community support. And the tickets are reasonable, like $20, which is a way to support art in the community. The Black Repertory Group in Oakland. Check it out. Life Among the Aryans. If you're watching this, eventbrite.com. Check it out. And then my show tonight, I'm doing a little bit. I'm just doing a little bit at the Marsh in San Francisco. 1062 Valencia Street, May 19th. And then, maybe 20 minutes, June 2nd. I talk about Trump's, popes, and ditties. I mean, I get to Diddy tonight, but I'm going to talk about Trump and the Pope. I'll talk about Trump and the Pope tonight. Check it out, 1062 Valencia Street. If you're watching, there's the you get tickets at ovationtix.com. I think there are other options to view tonight's performance, my little 5-10 minute thing. Check it out. Go to sfmarsh.org, I believe. The Marsh. Great place. I love the place. It's where I discovered that I love the performance of solo theater, comedic, humorous solo theater that is sometimes serious. It was sort of like my approach to news. I can give you a kind of emotional, poetic news, be the anchor of my own news, present it to you live. I learned that at the Marsh. So tonight I'm working out, Monday Night Marsh. Show up, 7 o'clock, 1062 Valencia Street in San Francisco. That's the Monday Night Marsh. And thank you for listening to this show today. I'd like to close with a little loving kindness, as I often do. I have all these gurus, and they teach me all about meditation and doing nothing. And really, that's the answer. That's the answer to happiness. You know, not to get all caught up in the outside and the externals. It's always an inside job. Always an inside job. And so, a little self-love, you throw it out there to the world, and it comes back twofold, threefold, fivefold, tenfold. Comes back. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.